CBS News has learned the Office of Personnel Management has given federal agencies until tonight to issue layoffs in the Trump administration's efforts to downsize. Earlier today, I spoke with Natalie Brand about how people affected by these widespread cuts across the government feel.
I traveled to Ashburn, Virginia, about 40 minutes outside of Washington, D.C., as you know. This is an area where you will find a variety of political views, but also an area that is heavily dependent on the federal government. You have federal employees there, as well as government contractors, people who work for businesses that support the federal government. So I talked to more than a dozen people. Many of them didn't want to go on camera, but some of them did go on camera and shared their opinions, ranging from fear to some applauding what is going on right now. But one of the women I met, her name is Carol. She says her husband works for a company that's heavily dependent on contracts from USAID. So over the past few weeks, all of his projects have been shut down. And she said that his company has had to furlough around 70% of its staff. She and her friend Janet spoke to us about some of their concerns. Take a listen. This is Carol and Janet.
Everything just feels very indiscriminately done. There's no purpose to it. They're just slashing people without any kind of thoughtful consideration of what they do, what their job is.
I just don't understand how all this can happen and there's no control over it. And we've got people in the Oval Office now that aren't politicians, that have no right to be making these decisions.
And now the White House has said that DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and Elon Musk are simply advising these federal agencies, but ultimately it's up to the agency heads, the secretaries, to make the final decisions on cuts, who's getting fired or hired. As for supporters of President Trump, I spoke to a number of them as well. And while they say that this is long overdue, that they like downsizing federal government, one Trump supporter did tell me he feels like the cuts so far have been made too abruptly.
I think it was a little quick. I think he probably could have rolled it out a little better. But I think overall it's going to be good in the long run.
I don't think it's too abrupt. Unfortunately, we do have to pull the rug out after a while. I mean, the spigot has got to stop. This has just been ridiculous.
Now, while in Ashburn, Loudoun County, I also met a government employee who didn't want to go on camera, but he described these cuts as, quote, fantastic. I spoke to someone else who couldn't go on camera. He had the opposite viewpoint, and he worries that the cuts of probationary employees, the workers who have perhaps less than 2 years of experience on the job, that will drive out a lot of young, high-skilled talent, forcing them out of government and taking their skills with them, Major.
And Natalie, I'm fascinated by the conversations you had because they reflect another layer of this story. The first layer, the one everyone's been most focused upon, understandably, is those directly impacted by layoff notices. But as you talk to people, there are those downstream who are part of businesses that support those people who are employed, who are also beginning to feel the echoing effects of these layoffs.
Absolutely. And right now, everyone's kind of on pause and wondering what will happen next, especially as these various legal cases, court cases, continue to play out. And another gentleman I spoke to, he was also connected to work with the federal government. He said he was an IT consultant. He worries about the economic impact in places like Northern Virginia, where there is such a heavy presence of government workers and those connected to the federal government.
Natalie Brand, excellent reporting. Thank you very much.